I'm Johnny, alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 27th, 2018. So May, it was 6 years. 6 years ago, 6 years ago in like May. But yeah, I kind of just got thrown into this. So I'm just kind of going to share my story, and hopefully, by the end of it, I have a topic and you guys can get a discussion out of it. So, yeah, I'm down here in Southwest Florida as well. I was born and raised in Naples. My parents still live here. They're still together. Came from a good family. Um, have an older brother. Yeah, just loving. I had everything I needed. So there was no kind of uh, exterior things that kind of led me down the path that I went to, other than it does run in my family. My dad, he's been sober. He got sober before I was even born, so I never even saw him drink. Wasn't much alcohol in the house, and I was kind of one of those dare kids that I kind of knew what my dad was doing. He'd say he'd go to meetings I didn't really understand, and as I grew up, I learned what really those meetings were about. But still, I was, yeah, like I said, like a dare kid where drugs were bad, and I was all on board with that. Alcohol was bad. I was going to stay away from it. I was going to be a good boy and just stay on the straight and narrow. Uh, and ever since I can remember, too, like when I was growing up, I was always kind of just this definitely introverted to myself. I remember all the time I would be in a classroom and I would be seeing people like just having a nice conversation over on the other side and thinking, they're talking about me and it's not good. I always kind of felt that way. That was all just kind of personal things I was dealing with, and didn't really ever have um, a lot of self worth growing up. But like I said, I go into high school, and then I end up going to school, going into high school, and that DARE program kid went out the window pretty fast, right when I got into ninth grade, and um, I went to a smaller high school. I was ended up being on sports teams with older kids. And within like the first month of being in ninth grade, I was already going to parties. And I remember that first drink I took at a party. Um, and all those thoughts of like, yeah, I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to be this good kid. Just went out when I just wanted to be a part of. And I took that drink and I felt that warmth, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. I now, instead of thinking all eyes were on me, thinking bad things, it was now all eyes on me and I'm the cool guy. And I enjoyed that feeling. And then I started to feel um, the effects of alcohol. And I truly, that was excitement because I got that ease, that comfort, kind of that serenity over me to where the mind kind of was starting to slow down. I wasn't thinking as much about myself and kind of like the negatives. It was more just, um, yeah, it was good. It felt good. It was a nice self medication that I had found, and I see why people enjoyed it. And I that first night was how I drank the rest of the time I was drinking. It was, wow, these two drinks, look how I'm feeling now. I bet you 10's gonna feel even better. And off to the races we went. But I managed to get through high school pretty unscathed for the most part. I was like a good kid for all intents and purposes. Like I had good grades. I was playing sports, and from like the outside looking in, everything looked good. Um, but on the weekends, I was doing that thing of I was a blackout drinker basically from the minute that I took a drink. And yeah, so things went good. I graduated. I ended up going to school, getting like a good opportunity to go up to school in upstate New York. And I'm playing sports up there. And I remember just being, once again, kind of being that kindergarten kid, of just being terrified because I'm in a new place. I don't know anybody and just wanted to crawl out of my skin. And that all changed when I went to that first party and I got those drinks in me. I got the substances in me. And um, yeah, those inhibitions, everything kind of went to the wayside. And um, I remember at that party, um, vividly. It was one of like the older kids that was on the team with me, who had been around me for like a month leading up to that, and had seen how I was just kind of this introverted kid who wouldn't really say anything to you. And now all of a sudden, here I am, being more vocal and more of kind of a normal human, I guess, or just kind of a more fun human. And he came up to me and he said, "Wow, you are a totally different person when you drink." And I said, "Yes, like you're finally meeting the real me. This is who I am." Because when I was drinking, I could say the thing that I wanted to. I could go up to that girl that I liked, or I could have conversations. I could have a normal conversation. I look people in the eye, and that was all well and good for a couple years there, and then slowly, all of a sudden, it started to pick up more and more. And then I ended up going to New York City for a summer, and that's when all of a sudden the avalanche and like just that snowball effect, it was really picking up speed, and things were starting to really go downhill. I ended up being, well, I ended up quitting the sport I was playing, and because I wanted to focus on school, that's what I was telling myself and my parents, and I could have told you, and that would have been the truth in my heart of hearts. But really, it was just so I could spend more time on what I enjoyed doing, which, like my, uh, what I wanted to do, like all those like goals and ambitions and desires, everything, like all of a sudden drinking was starting to climb up that ladder and starting to be more and more of the number one thing in my life. And when I went to New York City, now I was there for an internship. I ended up uh, going into work for like the first 3 weeks somewhat. And then after those 3 weeks, I went in probably for a combined, like for the next like 2 months, I was there for like combined like 5 days because all of a sudden I was drinking every day. And it was Groundhog's Day. It was coming up with a lie as to why I'm not coming in, or carrying on with the lie that I had uh, from the day or the week before. And yeah, just the Groundhog's Day of waking up the next morning hungover, not feeling great, and gets to be about 12 p.m. or so, and I'm starting to feel little bit better. And like I said, like I could have passed the lie detector test at the every single time, basically in the middle of the day, where I would be like, I'm not drinking tonight. I'm gonna go to bed on time. I'm gonna go into work, pass the lie detector test. I promise you, I would have. But once uh, time started to go on, started to get a little later in the day, mine starts going, saying I needed to eat, I needed to fall asleep, whatever my mind is going to trick me into doing. And I was right there back, and I was drinking until I passed out, and just over on and on it went. So didn't get that job, didn't call me back after that. And I ended up going back to school. I do what the book says of kind of the geographical change in my mind. That's like when I look back, that's definitely what I thought of it as. As I'm going back to school, it was New York City was the problem. Put me back in an environment where I'm around people, more people I know, kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'm not going to be able to get things as easily as I was there. So yeah, it was just it was the city, it was New York City's fault. Yeah, it wasn't. Doing the same thing. Now I'm having to like steal from my buddies, like stealing things out of their fridge, that type of thing. just to keep up with this because like I needed it at this point. Like it was the snowball, it became an avalanche. And um like I wasn't going into work, I wasn't going into school that time. So I had one got to be where I had one semester left to get my degree. And that first month of that last semester that I had, didn't go to a single class. Couldn't get out of my room, was just in self pity, drinking myself, doing what I was doing in New York, where I was just basically just laying in bed and just drinking myself until I passed out every single day, and ended up getting asked to basically take the semester off, go home, and um, telling my parents like uh, it's mental health. I got to get just control of this depression. That's what's going on. Not really taking into account that I'm like how much I'm drinking. Like that was didn't really cross my mind at that point that that could have been an issue. Or even like realize like, oh, it runs in my family. Yeah, maybe I've got this. But yeah, it didn't come through. It was the depression. I just got to get a hold of that. Um, Definitely like, and then I was back home basically in a sober house because I was at my parents' house with not no alcohol. And my dad, like I said, is sober. Um, but like looking back, like my dad, he was just, when I talk to him now, he was kind of letting me dig my own grave and letting me find it AA for myself, not trying to push it on me. Um, so I definitely was able to kind of convince my mom and manipulate her into not thinking there was any issue with it, but he definitely saw. Um, and yeah, it was just I was doing the same things I was doing up there, and once again, a geographical change I thought would help didn't. Um, Got to a point where like, so my dad, he had gotten Parkinson's like a year before then, and it all kind of came to a head when like he had fallen. I called my mom. We got to take him to the hospital, and my mom comes home, and instead of me being there with my dad who's fallen, and we got to take him to the hospital, she walks into my room, and I got just a handle of vodka just to my face, swigging it, and then now the picture was more clear in her mind, in her eyes as well. Like her little boy is what she went through with my dad. So after that day, I ended up going to rehab, uh, and still kind of convinced her that I was with mental health. So I went to a dual diagnosis place, and it was great. Like looking back, I mean, I wasn't too fond of being there. I still, when initially going in, didn't think there was a problem with alcohol. It was the depression that I had to get a hold of, and that all changed probably like my second day in there when a group had come in, and they brought a meeting into the treatment facility, and uh, read from the book, and they were reading from the book where they're talking about like all the steps we took to try to convince ourselves that we weren't with switching like from hard alcohol to beer, dark liquor to light, and all those things. And he's reading that passage, and I am just like, yeah, check, yeah. And I'm like, maybe I am an alcoholic. Uh, but at that time, I was just turned 22, and I was like, all right, well, I'm 22. Uh, I probably am an alcoholic, but we're gonna push this off. Like, I'm sitting in a room in a treatment facility with other people, and they're here court ordered. This lady like lost her family, like her husband took it, the kids are gone. This guy lost his house. Like they have all these consequences, and like, what did I have? I had to take a semester off from college. That was my biggest real consequence that I had. So I had it in my mind. I was like, all right, I'm an alcoholic, but we're going to just, now I'm starting to learn how to kind of manage this. Let's push it off and revisit when I'm 30. That was the age. I promise you, it was 30 years old was when I was going to revisit it. I ended up getting out of the rehab, and within 3 days of being out of the rehab, I got a bigger consequence. I got pulled over. I got a DUI. I blew a .28, so I was right back to uh, like where I was before. And um, my dad left me in there for a full 24 hours because he said that's what his dad did to him, and it was good for me. I hated it, but it was good for me because I got to sit there and realize, like, all right, that whole plan of waiting till I was 30 or pushing it down the road, like that's like I could see it. Um, and like I came to the realization, like, yeah, those people, like, they lost their family or they lost a house, they lost this, that, and that. It was like, way I'm going, I'm not going to get any of that stuff. Like, I'm not even going to reach that. Because things were getting worse. I had no ambition, nothing. Uh, like all my life revolved around drinking and getting out of myself and just kind of just being numb, being numb to the world. And that's what it revolved around. And I realized something needed to happen. So I get out of the jail cell and I end up going to the IOP, intensive outpatient, so here down in Naples. And I'm there, and I remember just being there, like I wanted it. I did. I wanted to get sober, but I just had zero confidence in myself. I didn't think I could do it. Um, I wanted to get sober, but I knew how much like alcohol like just had me. Just my fist was just, or my hand was just always wrapped around a bottle. Like it's fun. Meg's dad was my counselor there, and he always has a saying like, if my hand wasn't wrapped around a bottle, my mind was. And that was very true for me at all times. And what kind of switched up there was when, like what Meg said, Meg and her husband came in and they shared their story. And um, I related to it. And it was kind of like the first time where like my ears were open like the whole time and I was being receptive to what was being said. And um, like she said, I went up to him afterwards, and that was completely out of character for me, especially at that time. Like I was a recluse. Didn't want to talk to anybody. I was just so consumed in like self pity with myself that I just didn't want to talk to anyone. But for something, and what I look back now is just like it wasn't me. Something did it. Something pushed me towards him, and I like to think that it was my higher power that did that, and I'll continue believing that because um, it was kind of just like I grabbed onto their shirts, they grabbed onto my shirts, and off we went. And I kind of just followed them, and they were like just gracious enough to kind of just let me in and uh, let me be around like other sober young people, and I got to see that it was possible and see. Although like maybe like not maybe definitely I wasn't having fun in the beginning, like I wasn't enjoying really myself, but I kept on showing up. But I got to see other people having fun and seeing that it was possible. And like she said, she took me to FCYPAA, and that's like what I'm saying. Like if you've ever been to a YPAA conference, especially if you're new, uh, even if you're not new and you go for the first time, it's like just overstimulating, and it's kind of like a shell shock when you walk in. Like just kind of you don't really believe that all the people are sober just the way they're going. It's basically like just a EDM concert for before a main meeting, and then at the same time, extremely spiritual as well. It's special just being in a room with so many other alcoholics, and I still like I feel that way right now with just seeing this. I was very nervous coming on here, but yeah, it was very important to me going to that. It was really cool, and um, so yeah, I do that. I go back from Tiki Paw. I think it's a good idea to go back up to school and finish that last semester. But at that point, really, I was uh, solely like just focused on solely just focused on uh like the fellowship. I wasn't like getting into the work. I didn't really have the effort. I wasn't putting forth the effort. I was focused, like I was relying on other people really. I wasn't really, when I was going home, I wasn't doing any of the work. And I ended up going up there and I was left to my own devices. I didn't have my sponsor there. I was calling him, telling him BS, like telling him what he wanted to hear, but I wasn't doing it. And I ended up relapsing, ended up having to come back here. And I realized like I got to give this a shot. Like I got to like fully commit. And I also, when I was first going around too, like I didn't have a resentment or anything against a higher power or God. I just thought it wasn't for me. I thought I was too smart for it. But I realized like I can't do this, and I needed to give it a full honest try, and ended up coming back down and like really giving it an honest effort when I was alone, when I was by myself and doing things and getting on my knees and praying and trying to develop a connection with a higher power, doing the steps like thoroughly and honestly. And that definitely all of a sudden I was starting to just, I could feel it. I could feel there was a change. There was definitely something that was coming over me where uh, the mind was kind of slowly starting to get quieter, and I was starting to become more serene. And um, yeah, I, uh, I like to just bring up like probably the dumbest steps when I was like first looking at it and going through it. What I thought was dumb, like when I was looking at it, was 6 and 7, and those now, which happens all the time for me in sobriety, like what I think is like dumb or stupid and I don't want to do, usually that becomes the best. And 6 and 7, that was the most powerful for me. Like just sitting there in my kind of own thoughts and reflecting on what just happened with the uh, fourth and fifth step, and like going through all my resentments. That was truly a powerful experience for me. And I'm trying to wrap this up as best as I can. Yeah, get through the steps, and yeah, I can just, the greatest thing with being kind of sober for me is kind of just the serenity that I feel now. Not all the times, but a lot of the times. And it's just something that I can't remember ever feeling before I got sober, and was able to be around other people and just leaving and just letting things fall by the wayside and letting God handle everything, and just fully trusting that there is a plan, and understanding that stop trying to be the director. And yeah, that's very awesome. And like I said, like Meg said too, I'm here with the Florida Conference of Young People advisory crew. It's a cool thing with that is that first conference I went that Megan, Mike brought me, scared as hell. They brought me on stage for do a skit, and I talked, and then now whatever 5 years later, now I'm got voted onto advisory. Just pretty nice. It's pretty, at first I didn't really want to do it, but it's humbling, definitely humbling, and just it's awesome to what this program has done for me and the people it's brought in my life. The um, relationships, like just understanding like what a true relationship is and what kind of relationships with other people I want to have. Um, it's great. It's taught me how to be a real person, a real human, a good human. Um, Definitely not perfect. Definitely don't do it to my best of the, or not, don't do it perfectly, but progress over perfection. So sorry I went over time. That's